Hey everybody! So this course is called Foundations of Movement, and what it is it is a series of movement techniques that are fundamental and foundational to any exercise program. So this is something that you should learn before starting any exercise program, any training program, or if you're already in the middle of a program, or if you exercise regularly, you can learn this and then start to incorporate it into the program that you're already doing. This is also very applicable to daily life outside of exercise. We all use our bodies a lot during the day, whether that's picking up our kids, picking up our laundry baskets, reaching for things, turning, bending, anything like that. Life is mobile, and we need to be able to stabilize our bodies and use them in the correct patterns in order to prevent injury and also use our body in the most efficient ways. So the first concept that I want to talk about is the difference between strength and motor control. Now everybody knows what strength is. It's the body's ability to produce work, or the muscle's ability to produce work. Motor control is the brain's ability to tell the body how to move, or on a more micro scale, the brain's ability to tell a muscle how to fire. So why do we need motor control? Well, I used to work with a lot of collegiate football players as a physical therapist. They're obviously very strong and very well trained, but a lot of them were getting injured, obviously because they were coming to my clinic. And what I realized is that even though these people had a lot of strength, they didn't know how to use it in functional patterns. So as they were training their strength, both in the weight room and out on the football field, they were actually training and strengthening into dysfunction. So they were using patterns with their bodies during their movements that weren't healthy. Now you might ask, how do we develop these unhealthy movement patterns? Well, basically they just happen over time with life. So when we're babies, we have perfect movement patterns, unless we have some sort of developmental disorder. So in learning how to retrain people to have proper movement patterns, researchers studied the movement patterns of babies. And what happens over time with life, with our activities, with our posture, with different stressors that our bodies and our minds go through, we start to develop these dysfunctional patterns, and then we strengthen into these patterns as we go. So before we undertake any type of exercise or strength program, it's important to know that we're strengthening into function rather than strengthening into dysfunction. So that's the basis behind this Foundations of Movement course and the concepts that I'm about to show you. If you can begin to understand and really internalize these concepts, you're going to have a stronger connection between your brain and your body. So you're going to be able to feel into what feels appropriate for your body and what movements feel good and what movements feel like they might injure you. You're going to be able to use your body in its most powerful and efficient way. And also, you're going to be able to prevent the injuries that we all hope to avoid. So when I demonstrate these concepts initially, you might seem like they feel really easy, which, if you're comparing them to dynamic strength exercises, they are. But you have to remember that that would be like comparing apples to oranges, because these aren't strength exercises, these are motor control exercises designed to improve the connection between your brain and your muscle. So when you start to practice them, you might actually find that they're really hard. But don't get discouraged, stick with it. These things aren't meant to be mastered right away. These things are improved with consistent practice. So the best way to practice these foundational principles is not to do them in repetitions or sets, like we're used to doing with strength training, but to do them until you start to get them, until you start to become familiar with your brain telling your muscle to fire and in what pattern to fire in, and the muscle does it. So I recommend practicing these consistently throughout the day, every day. First, you're going to start to practice them in easy ways, in positions where your body's not fighting gravity, so it's easy to be able to isolate the muscle. Then we'll start to add in other elements, such as breathing, simple movements, finally dynamic movements. And as you start to incorporate these principles throughout your day into all your activities and into your exercises, it'll get a lot easier to be able to think about engaging the muscle, engage the muscle, and hold it while you do a movement. Some people might internalize these concepts more quickly and easily than others, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong way to do this. For me, it took about 2 weeks of consistent practice on some of these multiple times a day throughout the day to really be able to just initiate and engage whenever I wanted. Some people it takes a couple days, some people it takes like a month. So be patient with yourself. If you're not getting it as quickly as you like, try to be a little bit more consistent. Write yourself notes around your house where you can see to remind yourself to do these foundational activities throughout the day as much as possible. I've taught these foundations of movement to hundreds, maybe thousands of people over my 10 years as a physical therapist, athletic coach, and professional athlete. I use them myself all the time, and every single person I've taught them to reports that they make a significant difference in their life and in their activities. So I hope that it does the same for you. And without further ado, let's get started with Foundations of Movement.